Hello, good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, 26th of November, time for the spiritual light. And today, our topic is the pioneers of the Spiritism. It's a wonderful subject, a wonderful topic in which we can talk more about all those people, along with Kardec, helped to to give to us what we know as Spiritism today. And today we do have Munir with us. So thank you, Munir.
Thank you, Stevan, for having me.
And yeah, and let's say good evening, Elsa. How are you, my dear?
Good evening, Stevan, Munir, Charles. I am very happy because this title of theme today that we will talk about is very relevant. So people from outside ask me before I put the link, ask me the link. So I know that it has increasing the interest to know all these guys around Kardec. So our guests, our speakers, our volunteers, and our people in our chat, friends, will be together. Thanks God for that.
Yeah. Good evening, Munir. So
Good
let's
evening, Stevan.
formally.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Elsa, Chance. It's a pleasure to be here once again to talk about the pioneers of Spiritism. We've been talking about that for years now in series, that we have a yearly series, about them. But it's always nice to get together, talk about the birth of the Spiritist movement as such. So thank you
Yes.
so much.
Great. Great. Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Steven. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Indeed, yeah, Munir told it right. We have made a series over several years. Each year another author. We did Léon Denis, we did Gabriel Delanne, we did Camille Flammarion, we did even Ernesto Bozzano, and Kardec, of course. So today we will summarize a little bit all of this, but we will send you in the chat the links so that you can access and look for more details about the biographies and also about the works, the books they have written.
Yes. So, as we said, today we kind of pay a tribute to the pioneers of the Spiritism. So, those who guided by faith, by courage, and conviction helped build the foundation of these enlightening teachings. We often remember Allan Kardec as a codifier, but behind and beside him stood many others: mediums, scholars, writers, quiet works, both incarnated and discarnated. We need to also emphasize it. Who made the Spiritism a living, evolving reality. In this panel, we invite you to explore the stories, values, and sacrifices of these early figures, from Amélie Boudet, unwavering support, to the first mediums and collaborators, to the tireless workers who preserved and spread the teachings across continents. These pioneers remind us that Spiritism is a mission of both intellect and heart. May their example inspire us to continue the work with the same sincerity, humility, and commitment to the truth. Charles, I'd like to start with you, my friend. But before we talk about those pioneers, what values define the pioneer of Spiritism?
Yeah. Basically, if they are known, is because it is, and still today, it is because they have done great things, which stayed in the memory and stays as a kind of a reference nowadays. I would like also to say first that there were some front runners of the spirit of before Spiritism was known as such, and also everything started in US, in Hydesville, with the Fox sisters, and there were also some um, investigators there who made very serious works, like the Judge Edmonds, for instance, and also some others. And it is only a decade later, or a little bit less than a decade later, that this phenomenon is being spread around the world, including in Europe, including in France, that this moving table fashion was appearing, and that Kardec started investigating this phenomenon and looking for the root causes of it.
Mhm.
Now, Allan Kardec, he did never state himself as a missionary or as something like this. He was simply there, looking and trying to understand, spreading, writing books about what he discovered to share with others, writing also the Spiritist magazine and so on, that we explained already what all the works of Allan Kardec. And basically, he is known and venerated even until today as Allan Kardec for the works he did. You had a lot of other people doing things, even claiming they have a mission or whatsoever, that are completely forgotten today. Kardec is not forgotten at all, even after almost 170 years. So, what characterizes these people, these pioneers, is the work they have done and what they have left for the posterity, what they have left to us.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. It's important for us to understand first um, what are the values define a pioneer. So uh, let's 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 go to Munir now. And Munir, who are considered the main pioneers of Spiritism beyond Allan Kardec?
Hi, Stevan. Before I mention the ones that we consider the most important, the ones that gave a certain amount of contribution, reasonable amount of contribution to Spiritism, is to differentiate what is spiritualism from Spiritism. So when we talk about Spiritism, we are talking about the set, the collection of teachings that were compiled by Allan Kardec. As Charles mentioned very well, we had the Fox sisters, and we have had a lot of people studying mediumship or actually practicing it and taking it seriously, writing books about. We have many in America. We have the case of the Fox sisters, but it's important to see that within this spiritualist movement, Spiritism was born. And I could say that the ones that gave tremendous amount of contribution together with Allan Kardec, and also, as you mentioned, is not just the work of Allan Kardec, as some people say sometimes, Spiritism, the Spiritism of Allan Kardec. No, Spiritism is not of Allan Kardec. Allan Kardec was the central figure who compiled all the information, but as you mentioned, hundreds of mediums gave their contribution. Thousands of spirits gave the contribution. As Charles mentioned, there was also a forum for discussion within the Revue Spirit, the Spiritist magazine, and so many people who are probably unknown, who will remain unknown to most of us, gave their contribution. But together with Kardec, we would say that the knowledge that we get today and call Spiritism received also great contribution from Leon Denis, Gabriel Delanne, Camille Flammarion, although, as Charles mentioned in his talk about the Camille Flammarion, his biography, he wasn't a spiritist as such, but he was so honest in his research, in his pursuit for the truth, that he contributed tremendously to Spiritism, because he took seriously the phenomena and analyzed in a very careful scientific way. So, his contribution stems from his scientific background and his seriousness about the topic. And, and so many others that we are going to talk, over the years now. We are already, preparing next year. And I'll let Elsa tell people and invite them for, next year to see. So, and we have local pioneers as well. When we talk about other areas of the planet, because we are talking, about the birth of Spiritism, the preparation of the knowledge that is so important, and then was taken to all parts of the globe. And locally, we also had some pioneers who, receiving the seeds, took care and made sure that it turned into a beautiful tree that is beginning to grow. But I would mention especially, the ones that were closest to Allan Kardec, in my view, were Leon Denis, Camille Flammarion, Gabriel Delanne, especially these three.
Great, thank you. Elsa, do you have anything to comment?
Sorry, I'd like to add something that what Charlie said at the beginning about the values, the pioneers of Spiritism, that I was thinking this afternoon, and I find it very interesting what we can say, that what defines us, what defines the Spiritism, what defines the pioneers, the strength, what they have done, the past, that we have the lessons today, the examples today. So the pioneers were guided by faith, reason, and charity. They valued the honesty, humility, and dedication to truth, seeking to understand the spiritual world scientifically while promoting moral improvement. That's what we have in our hands nowadays. If you follow only these 3 or 4 guidance here, we can spread Spiritism accordingly. We can live Spiritism accordingly. We can be an example of Spiritist person accordingly. And we can value our own life. And we can see an example for others doing that. Especially being charitable, not in material things, that most of the people understand only material things. But valuing the way that we can really approach to someone that I think commit suicide. And all these pioneers, especially Leon Denis, in several books, Leon Denis, Gabriel Delanne, we have so many information in put in practice. In our Allan Kardec books, the guidance for life. But who really know, read, and put in practice what we have in our Spiritism guidance, that is only no more than Jesus' teachings in our days. That is what I was thinking really about serving with humanity, helping others, seeing, have eyes to see. Jesus was teaching us, and the pioneers also, especially the ones that you have all these series, these 5 years doing, Kardec, Bolzano, Gabriel Delanne, Flammarion, the last one now is what would you want that we are doing now? Exactly.
Ernesto Bozano, yeah.
Ernesto Bozano, yeah. But we have before Leon Denis, Gabriel Delane, Camille Flammarion,
Yeah.
Kardec, and Ernesto Bozano now. And next year, surprise, the end of the year. I think a lot of people just know about. So this personal work from them to today, we can count in our fingers who really are, we can consider today the pioneer of Spiritism, better than this one that we have, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another question that you said, Stevan, sorry.
No. Everything is okay. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so we said a kind of definition. What the values, who are them. So now to understand the historical part, I think it's important for us to understand, Charles, how did the early Spiritist movement spread beyond France?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I see Marco Davis is writing, there were some front runners. Indeed, there were some front runners. And in France, in particular, we had the philosophers who were a philosophy called French spiritualism, which in French is called the rational spiritualism, established by Maine de Biran. And this was even taught in the universities. So the basis, the paradigm of the philosophy in the first half of the 19th century was a spiritualist philosophy. So whilst today it's a materialist philosophy. So all these people who had more or less the age of Kardec and who studied spiritualist philosophy, so they were quite open to the point. On top of this, we had also as a front runner Anton Mesmer and the magnetizers, like Baron Dupotet, like Deleuze, like a lot of others, and La Fontaine, and so on. And among these magnetizers, you had two lines. One line was saying everything is a question of fluid. We don't need to consider soul or this type of stuff. And the other current was spiritualist, because they were studying some persons who had this somnambulistic ability and who claimed to be talking with spirits of deceased persons and giving even proofs of identities. So this is mostly Deleuze and some others. And when this moving table, so this was in the early first half of the 19th century. And when this moving table came at 1850, more or less, in France, and Kardec codified starting codifying the Spiritism, most of these spiritualist magnetizers adhered to Spiritism. So the field was somehow already prepared. And the Spiritist movement was spreading quite intensely in France at that period, even later on, after the decease of Allan Kardec, because the pioneers we will talk about, like Léon Denis, Gabriel Delane, they were quite young still when Kardec deceased, and they started becoming more active only 1 or 2 decades after Kardec's death. But the Spiritist movement was really growing continuously in the second half of the 19th century. And in France, but not only in France. In UK, you had, for instance, the Royal Society of London, and also the researches done by William Crookes, and the creation in the 1880s of the Society for Psychical Research. So there was a development quite strong also in UK. Both of the spiritualist movement and also of these psychic investigators, let's say so. But But indeed, Léon Denis, Camille Flammarion, Gabriel Delanne, and Bozzano, as that we mentioned, they really brought, pushed, like a locomotive pushing the development of the Spiritist movement until the period between WW1 and WW2, because they deceased more or less at the same time, 1925, 26, 27, and a little bit later for Bozzano. So they really had a huge role in the dissemination of the Spiritism, not only in France and Europe, because their books were spread around the world, even in Latin America. You had the books of Leon Denis translated into Portuguese, for instance, or into Spanish and for Latin America very early. So this is why we call them as pioneers, because they really got universal recognition worldwide somehow. And now today we reach the point where we have something like 20 to 40 million of people sympathetic to Spiritism around the world, which is a very significant growth that happened. After WW2, there was some setback a little bit because of this all what happened and these strong, pessimistic philosophies like Jean-Paul Sartre and some others. The humanism also almost disappeared because they could not answer and bring the arguments to explain what happened, which was not the case of Spiritist body of knowledge. Spiritist body of knowledge is bringing some explanation and survived to this WW1 and WW2. And it is now towards, let's say, the 70s or 80s that it started growing again, and it is growing continuously until today. I think Elsa can also talk a little bit about the Spiritist development status today in the world, because she made statistics of the Spiritist group around the world.
Yes, Charles, but I have not updated today, this year. It's something that we
Doesn't matter. I mean, the last update was 5 years ago or so it's quite actual still.
Yes, it's true. But I don't know how to say things here, because normally we do the statistics. So I put the numbers, countries, how many books are in the countries, how many Spiritist centers in each country, where the countries that have federation, union, or national institution that is associated. But we have, it's more talking about the International Spiritist Council now. I don't have in my hands what we have today. But for sure, what we can say now is the thing that we are working for spreading Spiritism in our European Spiritist gathering, that we are more close with Poland, Finland, Poland, France, Belgium, UK, Turkey, Israel, Greece. So there are a lot of countries that are keen to participate in these annual meetings. That is really great, because it's a horizontal line, the way that we work together. It's not a hierarchy that has only one boss dictate everything. So for this point of view, we are doing very well since 2014. Yes, Charlie? More or less, no? 2014, since we started. In the pandemic time, it was only online. And now we did in Finland in June this year. And there was, I think, 13 countries. When we gathered there, we discussed a lot of matter that they had the interest for preparing us as a workers, how really to achieve, to disseminate, to send our message to native people in English, so the countries, people that are not Brazilians also can understand and can receive the benefit of the Spiritism, not only amongst us. We are not to transform Spiritism in Brazil. Here we are talking about Europe. Maybe it's different in other parts, but I don't know. But for sure, the increase in numbers, it is slowly, But we have Spiritism in Japan, very organized, very, very good. And we have meetings every Saturday with Japan, Netherlands, Denmark, France, Belgium, Brazil, Israel. So a lot of people we are gathering. We don't have only one course, but we have several people working in the same field, ready to know a little bit more, to prepare ourselves a little bit more, and to spread with love and care what we have in our hands. That is these wonderful teachings that save life, give people understanding about their sufferings, where they come from, where they are going, and underneath these books and Camille Marion brought a lot of messages, and really powerful messages in order to work in Europe, for example, and that understanding the language, the culture, the way to spread, and we have this in our hands. So we should follow these pioneers instead of make another rules that are not fit more in our time today.
Great. And Elsa, sorry to ask another question, but we cannot start talking about pioneers without talking about Amélie Boudet. And I would like you to say how was her contribution to the Spiritism.
You know, when I started knowing Spiritism, I started using the book O Consolador, that it was in Brazil many, many years ago. But when I knew a little bit the biography of Kardec, the beginning, and I read about Amélie Boudet, I was enchanted by Amélie Boudet because I like poems, and Amélie Boudet like poems. So many things that I felt myself in common with Amélie Boudet, and especially the education, especially care for kids, education for kids, the way that she did, because she was a teacher, no? In the schools.
Mhm, mhm.
So, wife of Allan Kardec, a little bit older than Kardec, but they have so much in common in order to spread the Spiritism. So she played a crucial role in supporting the development of Spiritism. With Kardec and after Kardec, she held all their horses into the hand and following ahead. She was a scholar, teacher, and artist, and she helped Allan Kardec organize and edit the spirit's works, all the books, because she was receiving letters, helping open the letters, helping him to go to the post office, to send the letters back, etc., and to use for the Spiritism magazine even more, providing both intellectual and practical support. So she was a really wonderful lady. Her encouragement, care, and partnership allowed Kardec to focus on research, writing, and the organization of the Spiritist movement. Remember, the first movement in the world that we could see, organized, systematized, was with Kardec, pedagogically speaking. Because mediumship, we have so many times, mediums, everything from the other ancient times. But with Kardec, everything was organized for us to have in our hands today. For example, the Medium's book, that is one of the most important book for psychiatrists, for the one that deal with the people that hearing voices and seeing that people, etc. And without Amélie, without her dedication, much of the work we know as a Spiritism might have been much harder to achieve. So Kardec died in 63, yes?
69.
69. And she carried on, and she died with 85 years old, yes, Charles? Because I
It's
didn't
in
find anything.
83.
83. But she was an iron dama, iron lady, working this field that was so new for the world. And she continuing the Kardec's works, founded a lot of two institutions for continuation of Kardec printing books, etc. She founded another magazine, if I don't have mistake, because I didn't put all her biography here. but she's one of the, I can say, the pioneers as well, because she continued what Kardec wrote, and much more than that. Yeah? Holding into her hands a lot of work together with the other uh, members of the society there. It was a hard time, but she coped very well. Please add something, Charles, in you.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
right. It was, I would say, a strong woman behind a strong man. So she was really assisting him before, during, and also ensuring the continuation after. So she really played a key role in Kardec's own work, clearly. Enabling him to do all this, to travel. She was managing everything whilst he was traveling. And then, I mean, she really had an outstanding role in all this.
The letters, Charles, that you found the letters, Amélie to Kardec, beautiful letters that were published in Spiritism magazine.
Yes, they are on a website which is called Progetto Kardec of the Juiz de Fora Federal University. And there you can see something like 30 or 40 letters exchanged between Amélie Boudet and Allan Kardec, where, I mean, even before Spiritism and also after, during the travels of her husband, giving the proof, no, the evidences of this really very, how to say, productive relationships they had.
She was so supportive of Kardec that when he died, when he returned to spirit, she took upon herself fostering his work, carrying on his work, because she could have said, okay, that was his work. Since he's no longer here, there's no point in me, doing or moving it a step ahead or doing something. But she did. She carried on working hard and making sure that, Spiritism carried on as Kardec, had conceived it and thought about it. So it showed clearly that she was, next to him, side by side, working hard, giving all the support and also her contribution. And sometimes it's not very clear, but we can see that, once he's gone, she just carried on and made sure that Spiritism survived as such, gave tremendous contribution at that. And as Elsa mentioned something important. A spirit manifestation is not spiritist. It's not spiritism. It's a natural phenomenon, spirit manifestation. But of course, Kardec took, upon himself the task to compile what the spirit had to say about the spiritual nature, not what, a philosophical group or no, what spirits had to say. And when we talk about the pioneers, of course, Kardec, did all this work, compiling the answers, and especially in the 5 books that we have. But the work of the others, Léon Denis and Camille Flammarion and so on, was actually to take what the Spirit had brought to us and look upon the phenomena and reasoning upon that as well, to see the consistency of all these. And when I mentioned Camille Flammarion, that he was not spiritist, but he was so honest that he gave tremendous contribution to Spiritism, because we see that what the spirits brought to us was a new reality that no one had conceived. You see, no incarnated mind had conceived that. It came from them. But we have to check, is this true? How far can we go in explaining spirit manifestation and life itself on the planet with what the spirits brought to us? And I think the great contribution of all the others is basically stretching what the spirits had brought to us in order to cover certain aspects of life. Camille Flammarion in science, as such, Léon Denis in philosophy, and evaluating also and checking the explanation for so many natural mediumistic manifestation or anemic manifestation, somnambulism, for instance, and so on. So just to show the consistency of what the Spirit had brought to us.
Well, but it's wonderful talking about it. It's so important to have this mention and to understand, like Charles says, behind a strong man, you always have a strong woman. But I would say, beside a strong man, you always have a strong woman, not behind. It's beside, you know. So, Charles, I believe before, after no, but along with Amelie, because Amelie was alive, we had, oh my gosh, we had Leon Denis. So, what was his contribution for the
Leon
spiritism
Denis, so
movement?
he was 40 years younger than Kardec. Huh? Kardec was born 1804 and Leon Denis 1846. So, but he knew Kardec. He met, Allan Kardec when Kardec was traveling in Tours together with Amélie that time. Huh? The young Leon Denis met them in 1867, and he met him once also in Paris when he was traveling to Paris in Passage Sainte-Anne, and once also in a commemoration of a group in a city west of Paris. So Leon Denis read Kardec, understood Kardec, and stayed his whole life very, how to say, in this line, you see. So at the beginning of his career, in the 1870s, he was, how do you say that, Freemason? I think
Yeah,
that's the
Freemason.
expression,
yeah,
in the Demophile group in Tours. And then in around 1880, he left them when the Grand Orient, they removed the big architect, the notion of God, of their beliefs, in the name of the freedom of belief, you know. And Leon Denis could not accept that. He was deeply convinced about the existence of God. He acquired this certainty rationally through the Spiritist teachings and also through his own observations. So that's why when he took a little bit distance of the Masons, albeit he always stayed a very friend with them, and started stronger in the Spiritist dissemination. His first book was 1885, Why is Alive? And then After Death, which is one of his most known books, was 1889. And he also gave a lot of lectures. So the advantage of Leon Denis is his books are really in the content very aligned with the Spiritist philosophy and body of knowledge as codified by Kardec, but with a language which was 50 years younger, you know, 50 years closer to us. And because on Kardec, of course, there are some biases, you know, in the language, in the way to understand, for instance, expressions like God punishes, or which taken in the absolute meaning of the words is not true. It was just a way to express some things at the time of Kardec. So in Leon Denis, you don't find these biases anymore, and he really developed the Spiritist body of knowledge by adding all these researches done by Crookes, by the SPR, by Colonel de Rocha, by a lot of other researchers, enriching, and all these researches done after Kardec, confirming the basis that Kardec established starting 1857 with the Spirit's book. So he was pushing this more on the philosophical aspect, but also on this a little bit on the scientific aspect, and was also a little bit like Divaldo Franco. He was an outstanding speaker, and when he was going somewhere to make some speeches, for instance in Toulouse, together with Jean Jaurès. Jean Jaurès, he knew Jean Jaurès, who opened the doors of the Toulouse University, a big conference room for Léon Denis' conferences, and also with very positive analysis of Léon Denis' book in the newspaper he founded at that time, which was L'Humanité, which still exists today. So it's just an example of the image Léon Denis got through this outstanding work he has done. And he is also internationally recognized. You have his books translated into English, Swedish, of course, Portuguese and Spanish, Turkish even. There are really a lot of his works are appreciated in a lot of different countries, languages, and cultures.
That's Leon Denis. And I remember, Charles, I don't know, a few weeks ago, we were seeing some pictures from Leon Denis taken to the Congress you had in France.
Yes, the movies. By the way, I think it will soon be released. So hopefully we will be able to disseminate this. The movie, Leon Denis was indeed president of the International Spiritist Congress, who happened in Paris in 1925, with the participation of someone called Arthur Conan Doyle. So Leon Denis and Arthur Conan Doyle met, and Arthur Conan Doyle even translated the Leon Denis book of Joan of Arc into English. So just to add on the work and how well known was Leon Denis at that time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And he died 1827.
Yeah.
Charles,
and by the way, in 2 years it will be 100th centenary of his death. So we will have to commemorate Leon Denis again.
Okay. Uh-huh. Remembering that the Congress, I think it was 1925 in Paris. Conan Doyle was there with Leon Denis. Leon Denis was the main person, more important person for the Congress, was the president of the Congress,
Leader, yeah.
but he was already blind, almost blind. And there is a scenery that Conan Doyle was walking the corridor, talking, arm to arm with Leon Denis, guiding Leon Denis until bedroom or whatever. And they starting walk a little bit and talking, walk a little bit and talking. I was thinking, what they were talking. If you could know what they project that comes from the two minds together for the International Spiritist Federation, that time they worked together, no? It was really amazing. So Conan Doyle brought some information, but not all of them. And Leon Denis, I don't know if he gave you another information about the talk in private with Conan Doyle.
No, we did not find details about that so far.
No, but we try to guess because we are curious. We have to know.
Unfortunately, the archive of Leon Denis, apparently they got lost some decades ago. But okay, who knows? Maybe they are not completely lost.
Maybe you find in any time before now.
Yeah.
You found
Maybe
already.
we can find some hints in Arthur Conan Doyle's work, because Arthur Conan Doyle died only 1931 or 1932. He died a couple of years later.
Yeah. Yeah. And Munir, also we cannot forget Delan. So Delan also prepared a wonderful speech for Kardec funeral. So what can you contribute about Delan?
Delan was quite younger. He was born 1857. So at Kardec's funeral, he was 12 years old only. But he had a wonderful speech at Amelie's funeral this year.
Amelie's funeral. Okay, I knew he did something. Yeah. So Amelie's funeral. Sorry, excuse my.
But the learning father was
Yes,
Yeah.
Deland was his father was Alexandre, so he knew Kardec in 1861 when Gabriel was 3 or 4 years old. There are some wonderful writing also from Gabriel Deland, which were published in the magazine. It has been disseminated recently in how to say, a blog, a Brazilian blog, very interesting, translated into Portuguese. And it's really amazing to read all what Alexandre Deland has written. But Gabriel was an engineer, so he was more on the pragmatic and scientific side, isn't it, Munir?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, you could see his background actually in the way he approached the problems and the texts he wrote. His analysis of the phenomenon. I would say that together with Camille Flammarion, both were more on the scientific side of it. Although I would say that Camille Flammarion was even more towards science, and Deland was in between Camille Flammarion and Leon Denis, who was very much into philosophy. Although, as Charles mentioned, he also did some research. We can draw a line and say, but we know they gave different contributions, and we can see the way of Deland and his reasoning, you see. And as Charles mentioned, he also, since early age, because of his father, he started to get to know about Spiritism. But we can say that each one of them, of these pioneers that we mentioned here, they had special characteristics. And Deland was that. He was very much into, looking at things from a scientific point of view, but with a philosophical perspective as well, different from Camille Flammarion. And also to bring Ernesto Bolzano in this. Bolzano didn't do much research himself. What he did was actually to compile everything that could be found, and I think this is also a very good contribution, and try to look at that and see the laws that are behind what govern these all these phenomena in different countries, different parts of the world, different types of phenomena. And the beauty of it is that if you do that seriously, what you end up doing is just proving what Spiritism says about the laws that govern a mediumistic manifestation. You see, I had a talk in his series, this year's series, which was about him, about his work in Africa, amongst the savages, as it were, the word that was used. And his conclusions were the conclusions that, or they are in accordance with what we get from the Spiritist books. You see, just to show that the beauty of Spiritism and the contribution all these pioneers gave was actually to show, in fact, what came through Kardec, from the spirits, through Kardec, was actually something that could explain what we knew about spirit manifestation and the reality of the spirit world, of course, and all the philosophical aspect of it that we could draw from these manifestations.
Yes. Elsa?
I really appreciate what Munir is bringing, because I was in this live, I watched it. It is very interesting because this research that he brought, we have some scientists or researchers doing today regarding religion and combination, what is in, for example, South Africa and in Brazil, the roots of the spirituality. So the combination of all these things that the people can carry on doing after years, etc., all of them comes and see that Spiritism has all this information ready. That is great. So the combination that comes from the Spiritism to the world is really great. And we have our scientists here in the UK, psychiatrists, that they appreciate so much the works of Kardec, especially the Medium's book and the Heaven and Hell book. that could help the doctors, psychiatrists, understand better what's going on inside the minds or the spirits or the body of their patients. So they came and gave a talk in our congresses based in their works, their practical things and their practices, and the Kardec books. And they cite these books easily. Even Dr. Mick Collins as well. He gives a lot of lectures here in the UK and other places, and sometimes they cite Kardec. That is great because it's the base for a lot of things, starting point of the illness of the mind, etc. We have the explanation in our hands.
They are starting to understand better Kardec. That's
Yeah.
the
That's a good
problem of
point.
language translation and whatever. There were some hurdles, but
Yeah.
now I think they are starting to understand better.
That's
basically also because the last one is Camille Flammarion, isn't it, Munir? Stevan? So Flammarion, he was a little bit older. So he's born in 1842, and he was basically astronomer. He did not have, he was not engineer like Delan. He was more, let's say, a scientist in the field of astronomy. So he met Kardec in 1861, participated as a medium in the Society for Spiritist Researchers of Paris, led by Kardec. But Flammarion, albeit he was deeply convinced about the existence of God, deeply convinced about the existence of the soul, survival of the soul after death and its reincarnation, also plurality of inhabited worlds and so on. He wrote a whole book about that. He was not 100% Spiritist, because he always kept a doubt about it's not so simple as Kardec is stating it. And he was, according to his mediumistic experience, not convinced about the identity of the communicating spirits, And that was the case until he died, basically. But the huge contribution he brought was this spiritualist philosophy of science, collecting also, together with Bozzano, thousands of facts, of testimonies and so on, and compiled all this in the books he wrote, particularly at the end of his life, which are for the spiritist a huge source of information. And but he did not understand and go fully until the philosophical and also ethical consequences, as Kardec did at the very beginning, before even he wrote the Spirits book. This is something that Delan and Denis understood. They went fully in all the aspects of Spiritism, but Flammarion not. He was more on the phenomenology and the scientific aspects, existence of God, existence of the soul, reincarnation. So he was really fully in this, and so he kept a strong link with the psychic researchers and with the scientific universities and the research centers and so on. And I think that was his really big added value he brought to the Spiritist body of knowledge, and that's why he's also considered as one of the pioneers.
Yeah. Good. And one question arose here. Can we consider Victor Hugo a pioneer?
As a front runner, because his experience with the table were 1853, 54, before even Kardec was starting observing the phenomena. But of course, Victor Hugo, he had from those experience on, he was strongly stating his spiritualistic beliefs. So he contributed a lot in spreading the spiritualist ideas in France and in the world at that time.
Perfect. So one more, Victor Hugo. Yeah.
Again, we can also not say he was 100% Spiritist.
I know,
100%
but
spiritist, I would say Delane, Denis, Bozzano, clearly. Flammarion, let's say 90%, and Victor Hugo, let's say 50%. But they helped a lot in disseminating the ideas, that's sure.
They influenced that time, yes.
okay. So,
There
Munir,
were some others. We did not talk about Bezerra de Menezes, Euripides Barzanov, Fuxico Xavier. There are a lot also in Brazil. Herculano
that's the modern
Pires,
one.
and a lot of.
That's not the modern ones.
But we
And-
should have at least two books translated into English. Because people after you talk about someone, Dr. Marlene Noble, that it will be next year. We should have more books translated into English. Because once you're talking about the book, if people want the book, we don't have the book into English.
No.
That is something. Oh. We have the soft matter. The soft matter we have in English. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, we only have 3 minutes left. Munir,
Yeah.
your wrap-up message, my friend.
As I mentioned at the beginning, Stevan, these authors, pioneers, they gave a very clear contribution and very important one. I think it's like preparing the soil and looking after not only the site where the seed has been placed, but also making sure that the conditions around are the right ones for Spiritism to develop. From Camille Flammarion, that showed that Spiritism had a lot to do with science, you see, and I find the beauty in his work is the fact that he said, I'm not 100% convinced, as Charles said, 90% convinced, maybe, but he showed in his research and his way of looking at natural phenomena that there was room for Spiritism, the same for the others, but as we mentioned, on a more philosophical aspect. So, but there are so many also who gave their contribution, who we perhaps think as less important, but or even unknown to us, but they helped somehow Spiritism to create roots, and of course new leaves in this tree that certainly one day will be so big that the whole of humanity will understand what we are here for, the reality of life, physical and spiritual one, at least the real one, based on this work of these few pioneers.
Wonderful. Charles?
Yes, I mean, there are some modern pioneers, and Kardec and Denis Delane, they were all very optimistic, seeing a spreading which was going much quicker than what we are seeing today. But the notion of time is a little bit relative, we have a linear time in our 4 dimensions, 3 for space-time and 1 for time, 3 for space and 1 for time. But in the spiritual world, the time notion is completely different. So it will come for sure, because it's part of the laws of nature. So we can deny, we can reject, we can resist to admit the facts and to believe. But at the end, the facts will be stronger, and the change of paradigm will come very soon now. But of course, we need some modern pioneers as well. And this is why we need also to follow the example of the older pioneers.
And Charles, we do have a question here from Marco Davis. If you know a French guy from Duran de Go.
The medic scientist that gave the name. The name of ectoplasm is coming from Charles Richet in 1880s. He was the first one defining this word. Before the word ectoplasm, it was fluids, magnetic fluids, other expressions. and he really brought this expression of ectoplasm. So it's Charles Richet. He got a Nobel Prize in his scientist area because of the researches he made on anaphylactic shocks. He got the Nobel Prize. He was also one of the president of the Society for Psychical Research in London, together with Flammarion and together also with Henri Bergson, the French philosopher of that time.
Okay. What's his name?
Henri
Hubert?
Bergson.
Oh, Hubert.
Henri Bergson.
Okay.
It's a kind of a humanistic and spiritualistic philosophy, albeit today's philosophers, they claim he was not spiritualistic, but okay, it's a question of interpretation.
Yeah.
He was
Elsa, my
quite
dear, your wrap-up message.
Easily. I can say everything in 2 words. Be humble. Be charitable. Be a good person. We can learn with the pioneers. We can learn about from Kardec. We can learn about from Jesus, but we can put in practice humbly to be a good person that we need most nowadays. Thank you all. Thank you, Munir, Stevan, Charles. Thank you, our friends here, Abate, Ahmed. Ahmed is still in the hospital, but still with us, you see?
Yeah. Speedy recovery, Ahmed. So, as promised, I am adding a link for all the talks we had about these pioneers of the Spiritism. So, there is a series of playlists. There's a link for each one. So please enjoy, listen, and getting more deep on those talks. Let me go to the announcements here, and we will finish. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so next week we are ready in December, and we will have our friend Julio Carvalho, and the topic is Light in the Dark, the return of the spiritual sun. So, 3rd of December at 9 p.m. London time, we have Julio Carvalho with us. Every Saturday at 10:30 a.m., we do have the Mediums book study with Munir, Charles, and Guilherme. For those who are interested in understanding the Spiritism across in Europe, we invite you to join us on the 6th of December. A talk we're going to have in the European Spiritist Gathering is a young guy talking about what is important for them at this age to get to know more about Spiritism, how can attract them then. So it's a wonderful talk on the 6th of December. The Zoom link it's on the image, so you can join us on the 6th of December at 7 p.m. London time. As we mentioned, next year we have the series will be with Marlene Nobre. So 12 wonderful guys will talk every single month about this brilliant spirit now, Marlene Nobre. Please keep reading Spiritist Magazine. It's free of charge and it's full of content. Please visit Buzz website, ISF website, Spiritist Francophone movement website as well for more details and spirit centers near to your house. And please keep listening Kardec Radio. This is it from us today, my friends. Thank you so much, Munir. As always, it's very good to have you. Great contribution, great interaction with the team. So thank you. And I'll see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.